Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida Fair Tax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, December 13th, 2024. Will Americans support eliminating the income tax in the IRS? Now, all of us know by now that President Trump has indicated he is interested in abolishing the income tax and the IRS during his next term. Now, eliminating the income tax in the IRS is one of the best ways to start dismantling the D.C. bureaucracy, the benefits of which will be immediately seen and appreciated by all of us. Elon Musk recently posted a poll on X asking if the IRS budget should be increased, left the same, decreased, or deleted entirely. Of the 212,000 respondents, 60.6% voted to delete the IRS funding entirely. Now, to those reading this article and who support the fair tax, we wonder why that number was not 85% or even more. Why don't people demand that the income payroll tax system be replaced? Well, here's some information. In a 2023 Pew Center survey, 51% of Americans said they have an unfavorable opinion of the government tax agency, while 42% had a favorable view of the IRS. Of the 16 federal agencies and departments that Pew asked about, the IRS was among the least popular on the list. Among Republicans, 29% have a favorable view, 64% have an unfavorable view of the IRS. Among Democrats, it's 53% favorable, 40% unfavorable. On balance, Democrats offer much more positive opinions than Republicans when it comes to most of the federal agencies we asked about. But even so, the IRS ranks near the bottom of their list as well. 160 million returns have been filed for 2024, and refunds have been issued to 103 million of the filers. The average refund is $3,000. 90.5% of the filers did not itemize deductions, but instead used the standard deduction. The IRS examined 0.44% of individual returns filed and 0.74% of corporate returns filed through the end of fiscal year 2023. When people are beset by problems created by inflation and wages that aren't keeping up, they tend to focus on survival. Issues that don't directly affect them tend to get pushed to the side. If the IRS isn't bothering them and they're actually getting a refund, getting rid of the IRS is not very high on people's priority list. But even so, there's going to be a substantial number of the 49% of the Pew poll who will readily agree with getting rid of the income tax in the IRS when the fair tax is explained to them. However, we know that the D.C. elites, their toadies in the media and in Congress, will put up a fierce fight to keep the broken, corrupt income tax system that's been benefiting them at our expense for decades. The last thing they want to do is give taxpayers any kind of control over how much federal tax they pay and when they pay their taxes. Doing that would cost them the ability to sell special tax favors to special interests for billions of dollars. And, of course, they want to retain as much control over us as they possibly can. In conclusion, now that President Trump has been elected, the nightmare scenario for the D.C. elites is only 6 weeks away. This is a president who is serious when he asks if a law or regulation is necessary, and if it is necessary, does it operate in the most efficient manner and in a manner that's best for the people. If the new president determines that a law or regulation is not necessary, he'll move to eliminate it. If he determines it is necessary, he will work to find a more efficient way to administer it and do so in a way that transfers power away from the D.C. elites to the people. There are probably thousands of laws and regulations that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will find are not necessary and that need to be eliminated. However, few of these will be laws or regulations that will directly affect ordinary Americans in as clear a way as repealing the income tax, eliminating the IRS, and enacting the fair tax. This is our opportunity to make real change that will lead to greater prosperity for our children and the nation. and it's an opportunity that may not come again in our lifetimes. We must come together and ensure that real tax reform, the fair tax, is not subverted by the elites in D.C. This will take the diligent efforts of all of us. We need your financial assistance, and we need your grassroots assistance as well. Please email us at info@fairtax.org, and we'll give you some options on how you can best help us. At a minimum, please call your congressional representative and ask if he or she supports the fair tax. If so, thank him or her for their support and suggest they become a co-sponsor of H.R. 25 if they're not one already. If not, ask why not. If your representative claims to be unfamiliar with a fair tax, offer to have someone come to their office and explain it to them. The solution: pass the fair tax. Now, why would D.C. pass the fair tax and give up an almost unlimited source of donations? Well, they won't, at least not voluntarily. The only way they will is if the rest of us demand it. Isn't it time to end this ludicrous tax collection system and the IRS along with it? Help us bring about real tax reform and stop future IRS abuses. By contributing or investing $10.40 a month, you help provide a financial base to Americans for fair taxation. Now, if you can make larger contributions/investments, these will be used not for salaries, as we're all volunteers, but for the needed updates to our economic studies, which will be vital for all future years. Please go to fairtax.org to invest in AFFT and help us pass the fair tax. It's an investment in your and your family's future.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax, and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at fairtax.org.